Hello, I'm Terrance Lumadue, and today we're spending 5 months with Patty Handysides, senior reporter for AM 800. So Patty, what interested you in the field of journalism?
You know, I thought when I started going to school, I really wanted, out of high school, wanted to be a cameraman. In news, that's what I really thought I wanted to do, but when I took a news writing course in college is when it just exploded. I thought I was doing something wrong, it came so easy. And my professors told me that, I had a real knack for it and helped me into it. And I've never looked back. I just love it. I love being the reporter. I love writing the news and delivering the story, telling a story.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Centennial College in Toronto. When I went to college, which was a few years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of courses out there that I really liked, but Centennial offered a good broadcast journalism course, and that is what I wanted to get into. Like I said, I thought I wanted to get behind the camera and just do that, basically be a videographer. But I guess I was lucky enough that the course was very well-rounded, offered a lot of courses, but it was all in broadcast. At the time, I never even thought of print journalism, although, there's so many realms that it kind of melds together and mixes between print and broadcast because you are writing. It's just, slightly different styles.
How did you get started? Like, what was your first job?
I was still in college when I got a job in Oshawa at a small station, CKAR, and I started working there, and my very first day, I covered somebody who'd been dead for a long time. It was an awful story. And I went from there to a horrible murder trial the next week that I had to cover, and for a while I really had to think about whether I wanted to do this, because it was really tough. They were very tough stories to do right off the bat. But when I realized that people were calling in to ask for more details, I was really telling a story, and people were starting to talk about it when I run into them outside my apartment or at the store. They wanted to know more about it, and I realized I was telling a story, and people wanted to know more about it, and I was hooked. That was it, and never looked back.
What's your experience being the senior reporter for AM 800?
I have a lot of freedom to do a lot of different kinds of stories. I also do news series for the station. I do all kinds of different things, whether spot news or, a little more investigative. I'm really lucky. It's my years being there that have put me there, but I'm really lucky, and my bosses there are really good to let me kind of go out and just track down some different kinds of stories. But my favorite still is spot news, something happening right at the moment and being there and telling the story to people as it's happening. Working in radio is what I love because it's immediate more than any other kind. People can tune in and they can hear me tell them exactly what I'm seeing. I try to describe it as best I can so people get an idea of what's happening. And I think that's what I love most about radio is that it is so immediate. If people are tuned in, they can hear what's happening right at that moment.
Have you been a reporter for anywhere else, for any other companies?
Well, besides CKR and Oshawa, and that was only about 4 months, and then I moved back to Windsor and got a job with the CBC, and I worked with CBE in Windsor for 3 years before CKLW came knocking and asked me if I would join them. And over the years, I've actually been a DJ too. There's been a couple of times we've switched owners a few times. I've worked for the same station for many years, but we've had a few different owners, and a couple times they've put me on as a DJ. So that was actually kind of fun for off and on to do something different, but my true love is news, so getting back in the newsroom is just terrific.
What is the most interesting story you've ever covered?
Oh, my most interesting. I've had a lot of interesting stories. I'm a big fan of politics, so getting to cover some big names in politics. I've covered a few presidents and a few prime ministers. I've covered the Queen. And that stuff's fascinating because it's not just the story's fascinating, but the whole background, the background checks you go through to be able just to see, what it takes to get near a president or especially the Queen is fascinating. But crime stories are good, and I think the real the stories of people's real tragedies or their real personal stories of things that have happened to them and how they've kind of got through it and survived. I love those stories too. Survivor stories are just a favorite of mine, to see somebody who's really struggled and made it through, whether it's through a health issue or a financial issue or even victims of crime who've, sometimes you can't believe that they could actually get up and survive another day, but they do, and they get back on their feet, and then they make a difference. They go out and they try to change things, and I love those stories. They're my faves.
Besides being a reporter, what else do you do?
Well, I have a hobby, kind of. It's a moonlighting job. I'm a licensed pyrotechnician. So I design and I build and I do light fireworks shows, and I supervise crews, and I travel around Ontario doing shows at a lot of festivals, and it's just such a different thing from news. And for the longest time, I really wasn't sure why I was so interested in that, because I didn't grow up like lighting to light fireworks when I was little, but I realized it really is my creative side. I like the artistry of it, and whereas in news, most of the time, it's bad, sad news is what we deliver. Fireworks, everyone loves fireworks, so it's a complete opposite to go out and know that every time I do a fireworks show, people are really happy about it. It kind of counteracts sometimes the bad news that I have to deliver. I love it. Fireworks are just amazing to work in. It's an ever-evolving kind of industry with the way regulations change, and Canada's got very safe regulations, so it's actually quite fun.
What kind of advice would you give to a young journalist?
Oh, well, I don't know. I think, everyone's different, and everyone's got a different reason for why they get into journalism. It's a tough field. It's a hard field. There's not a lot of jobs out there. There's less now than there were even when I got into it. And it's not always great paying to start with, for sure. And sometimes not great paying at all, depending if you never get out of a small market, but you have to love it. If you didn't love it, you wouldn't stay in it, because, like I said, not very many people in journalism are going to get rich. There's not that many, Diane Sawyers and such. So you have to love it. You have to love the craft. And I think you need to find which part of journalism you like best, whether it's broadcast, whether it's print, whether it's online, whether it's whatever you like doing. I think you gotta hone that. You will find it. There's everyone kind of drifts to one part or the other. So,
where do you think the industry is going?
That's a tough one. I think in radio we feel pretty safe in that it's a thing that people love because it's so quick and easy. They don't even have to be near a computer to check online a story. It's just information's coming to them. That's what's great about working at a news talk station, because we're always on. In our news, we break in all the time to deliver news, so it's quite easy for us. But the industry in a whole, it's in such a flux right now, because with so many people going online for their news, or just using their smartphones for news, it's changing so much that we have to deliver it in different ways. I mean, even in our newsroom, we go online, we add our stories online to our website, we Twitter, we send out breaking news email alerts and that kind of thing, that we've only been doing the last couple of years, and we didn't have to do that before. So it's a little extra work. It's different. No one has bemoaned it. No one's having a problem with it, but it's something that we have to remember to do, because we're just so used to just going on the air, that's it, whether by phone or over a microphone. And so now it's like this extra layer of doing it, but the great thing is knowing that it brings more people in, and they might want to tune into our radio station to hear more of the news than what we ever just Twitter.
Thank you for coming, Patty. We've just spent 5 minutes with Patty Handysides. For Mediaplex News Now, I'm Terrance Lumadue.